before, when you think about the pop culture impact of Evil Dead, most people think of Evil Dead 2. That's the one that they go to. I mean, it's not hard to see why, because whereas as much as I like the fact that Evil Dead 1 felt like a personal project, this one seemed to open itself a little bit more up to the mainstream. And it's still the special effects are very impressive, but at the same time, they're not as gritty and visceral as they were in the first one. They're a little bit more easier to take, even if they are just as impressive as the first movie. We talked about the tree rape scene. Yeah, they kind of homage to that in Evil Dead 2, but it's nowhere near as rough as it was in that first one.
Or harrowing. Nowhere near as harrowing as the first one.
Yeah.
The camera following moments in this are superb, though. The whole and the camera chases.
Oh yeah, well, that's
Absolutely
because in that
amazing.
one, I'm willing to bet they actually had an actual dolly to do that, whereas in the first one, it was basically just somebody running through the woods with a camcorder. But I love the fact that whereas the first one really, to me, didn't have much in the way of comedy, this one really went the slapstick route. I mean, the whole endeavor between Ash and his severed hand is just hilarious and gets me all the time. I mean, the scene that always gets me the most is when the hand is creeping into the mouse hole and he pops out to give the finger. I mean, that scene always
and he gets stuck in the
me.
mouse trap, doesn't he? And then Bruce
Oh
comes
yeah.
Very Tom and Jerry-esque as well, in terms of the way that the hand worked and the dynamic between him and the hand, which they play on a little bit more when they go to the third movie. And as Dave pointed out as well, the whole thing at the end where he's supposed to, and it kind of brought a running gag out where he's supposed to say the incantation.
No, don't get ahead of us. That's something we need to talk about when we get to the third movie.
No, but it's also kind of the running gag for this one, because the girl that he's with ends up doing the incantation and then gets killed halfway through her trying to say it.
At the end, yeah, when she's trying to save them, I believe.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh shit!" It cracked me up because I sat there and I was like, "This guy's." To me, it reminds me of like a Garfield quotation of "I hate Mondays," because he's just having such a bad time in this cabin, and it cracks you up to think, "Fuck me, this guy just." Doesn't know.
Why would you not knowing that he obviously as a character he didn't know that it was a remake, but they do recap on the start of the original film, start of the first film on the original of this, but you're like, why would you go back to the same cabin?
Well, no, it's not even that they went back to the same cabin. Isn't it that it's just it's basically remaking elements from the first film with while at the same time kind of sort of seeming like a sequel, because it's essentially still the same cabin.
He has nightmares about the cabin from the first movie.
Yeah,
even though it's a remake, he does have nightmares about it. And his girlfriend and his psychiatrist both say to him, "Yeah, go back there. Maybe if you fight this head on, if you go in there and see there's no problem with the cabin whatsoever, you'll be fine." Then I'm trying to think about it because it's been a while, because I've got the special tin edition of it.
That's the one I got.
Yeah, and if basically he goes back, and then the tape plays with the incantation on it.
That's it.
And all hell starts to break loose again.
Yeah, and I do want to point out the one thing that I think is kind of interesting about this in comparison to the first one. Whereas in the first film, the ghosts, the demons, kind of very much felt sadistic in a sense. The ones here just kind of seem dickish. Like they're just messing with him. Like in the first one, there was kind of an evil menace to it. In this one, they're just messing around with him. They're just screwing with him, and I think that's what kind of makes me laugh at this, where it kind of diffuses some of the evil of it, but at the same time you're laughing with them instead of being afraid of them, because there's that great scene where just everybody starts it's like there's that great scene where everybody starts laughing, even the little deer head on top, and he just starts laughing maniacally with them. Like, how can you not get wrapped up in that whole thing? I mean, it's the movie's a real spectacle, and you can tell Raimi really was able to do a lot more with the budget. I think this one had about a $3 million budget as opposed to the first one.
Higher than its budget, though. I was quite surprised.
Yeah, $3.6 million budget, $5.9 million gross, Which, it's not that bad. Keep in mind, this is back in the days where, breaking even, was considered a hit for the most part. It wasn't now where, given how much promotion people do for stuff and whatnot, you have to actually make twice as much of your budget back in order to even break even. It's not even
was different back then as well, wasn't it? You were only dependent upon which company you were with. You were only allocated a certain amount of theaters, weren't you?
Yeah,
so
it's
when this got released, it was only in like 300 theaters or something.
Yeah, the theaters kind of held the key to whether or not your film would be successful or not. So they would force the reins a little bit more. Nowadays, it's just like, well, fuck you, or just stream.
Yeah.
But with the model and how the business model kind of worked then, it was kind of obtuse in a sense. But in terms of what's like we see at the moment and the way that the film was presented, I loved it, and I'm like Dave. I'm all on the chances they took with it, and the fact that they actually changed the tone of the movie altogether.
Is it on Blu-ray?
I don't think it is. It? Oh, good.
I think over in the US it is. Evil Dead 2 is on Blu-ray.
I would import it, but then they'll just have the shit out of me. Yeah. But yeah, the whole like fact that this movie stood out on its own, and as you said, Miguel, if you haven't watched the first movie and you just came into watching this one, it's a great starting point. It's the same reason if you didn't watch the second movie and just watch the third, you have your starting point there as well. So
I completely agree with what Miguel said, which is I think a lot of people, when you mention Evil Dead and they think they know what Evil Dead is or they've seen Evil Dead, they're actually referring to this movie.
Yeah, it's Evil Dead 2. Because like I said, I tried going back to watch Evil Dead, and if you're only familiar with Evil Dead 2 or Army of Darkness, it's a bit of a turn. And yeah, I just checked online. In the US, yeah, Evil Dead 2 is on Blu-ray. There's a special 25th anniversary edition Blu-ray, which I would suggest getting if you're.
It's got any special features like super whammy documentaries and shit.
Let me check.
More tree rape. That's the special feature. Just like
let's see,
a whole extra like documentary about the tree rape, and tons more tree rape. And
the thing with it being on Blu-ray,
you just tried to say tree rape now. That's
Tree Rape, the musical. Oh, by the way, there is actually a musical based on this.
Yes, there is, isn't?
Yeah, in the States. I wanna go and see it. I need to go and see it. It's my lifeblood. It's my Everest. I need to see this. This musical.
I would see that as well. I would see an Evil Dead musical.
Probably have me with my jaw on the floor if I went to see it with you. I'd be like, you'd be like, Burhan, are you okay? And then I would be dead because I would have died happy.
Because I imagine it being very much Repo genetic opera-ish, in a way.
Not really, actually. I've seen
but
bits and
funnier,
pieces.
I think. Yeah, maybe funnier than that one, but with that style.
I think
It
Jerry
has been
Springer
to the UK.
musical
Burhan, it has been to the UK. I know that actually. I've got this weird flashback memory of seeing an advert for it in a newspaper and thinking,
it's
not
never
fair.
been here. Never been here at
Sure.
all.
There might be a tribute show then.
Because I had a friend of mine tell me about it in the States, and I was just like, and he showed me a poster. I literally shat my pants, like looking at it going, oh my god, with my high-pitched voice, acting like a gleeful schoolgirl from a Japanese anime. It's one of those things that I need to see it, and apparently, from what I've seen, even Bruce Campbell's gone to see it and says it's amazing. I think even Johnny Millennium went to see it. Well, jealous.
And by the way, I just looked up the special features for the 25th anniversary Blu-ray release of Evil Dead 2. Dave, hold on to your pants because you're going to like this. Audio commentary with writer-director Sam Raimi, actor Bruce Campbell, co-writer Scott Spiegel, and special effects makeup artist Greg Nicotero. Swallowed Souls, the making of Evil Dead 2. Cabin Fever, a fly-on-the-wall look behind the scenes of Evil Dead 2. Road to Wadesboro, revisiting the shooting location with filmmaker Tony Elwood. Evil Dead 2 behind the scenes. The Gore the Merrier, which is a featurette filmed on set. And a bunch of stills and photos that are packed in like a clip book featurette, not actual book, but like a slideshow.
I think I have a semi.
Yeah, I guarantee we'll probably be seeing a Lawn Boys post review of the Evil Dead 2 Blu-ray edition. But I'll send you.
I'm so all over this.
I'll put a link to the Blu-ray.com review of the whole box set in the chat. Well, the Skype chat. But yeah, Evil Dead 2 is a great film. It says that it's a cult following, but honestly, if you have the choice, Annina likes the first one. I tend to go for the second one. But here's the one that I was actually introduced to the first, before even all those. Now,
Well, can I just quickly say one more thing about Evil Dead 2 before we move on?
Sure.
In because the tinned edition that myself and Bern has pretty good special features as well, and the audio commentary is brilliant. But there's a brilliant, so funny bit where Bruce Campbell talks about where he actually, it's some independent award show or something, met Kurt Russell, and it wasn't like, hi, you're Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell walked straight up to him and just said, say the line, and Bruce Campbell was like, what do you mean, what? And he goes, no, just say it. Just say work shed. And so Bruce Campbell just goes, work shed. And then apparently Kurt Russell just went awesome and walked off.
By the way, Pat Ellis says the musical is so campy and hilarious. It's basically in the same vein as Little Shop of Horrors. So I know.
Oh, I want to see it.
Yeah.
Why don't they release that one? Why don't they release a live version on DVD? It would sell.
Little Shop. I think it's more due to the rights, because the musical itself is actually independent. It's not done by any big company. I don't think they have the licensing rights to do it. But it's one of those things where it's done by people who are kind of fans of the material, so to speak. But I never know. If they do have the rights to kind of distribute it, or if they can work out a deal with New Line to do so, I would so buy that. But I want to see it live. That's not only. I need to immerse myself in this. I think me and Annina.
Is it still running? Is it still got is it still doing a tour?
Currently, yeah.
I'm telling you, people, but for us Anglophiles, let's have a road trip.
Well, I mean, considering you guys are actually connected by roads and I'm separated by a giant ocean, I think that might be difficult for me.
Roads, Miguel, where we are going, we don't need roads.
That's a good one. I just want to point out, by the way, before we move on to the third movie, I'm actually looking at a picture of the Laserdisc version for Evil Dead 2. It's the only Laserdisc that I've ever seen that's actually blood red. The entire disc is actually red, like deep blood red. I actually got to give the distributors credit for that one. That's actually kind of cool. But well, this was actually a bit of a hit, a little bit more than Evil Dead was for Sam Raimi, and he had actually been wanting to do a direct sequel, even right after this movie. Problem is that he couldn't get distribution for it. DEG wouldn't give him distribution because of how much of a hassle doing Evil Dead 2 was. So do you know what the only reason was that Dino De Laurentiis even allowed Raimi to do Evil Dead 3 was?
Isn't there a writer's strike or something?
Nope, it was Darkman. He had done Raimi had done Darkman, which was a huge hit for, I believe, Universal or whoever had the rights to it. And so Dino was like, "Oh, now you're my boy again. So let's work on that Evil Dead 3 that you've been wanting to do." And as we noticed before, there were several different.
It was shelved for a year though, or something. It was. This is why I got writer's strike.
Yes, it was. Yes, it was shelved. It wasn't because of the writer's strike, though. We'll get to that in a second. But yeah, this had several titles. It was obviously going to be called The Medieval Dead because they were going to play off of the ending to the second film. But eventually, it did get whittled down to Evil Dead 3: Army of Darkness, and to most people, Army of Darkness. This was the movie that
Also, Miguel, you forgot to say is they had a problem with Bruce Campbell being a leading man. Like, Bruce Campbell was originally up for Darkman. Raimi had to fight tooth and nail to get him even at the end of the movie because they just didn't want him to kind of like be that guy, because Darkman was originally supposed to be his vehicle. That didn't happen. He originally was supposed to go for the Phantom. That didn't happen again. He was kind of they kept fighting against the grain, and one of the reasons why they didn't want to do a third movie is because they didn't feel that he was a box office draw.
Yeah, this goes back to actually him in Crime Wave. When Raimi did Crime Wave, the studios didn't want Bruce Campbell as the hero, so Raimi basically made him the villain, which actually hurt the film because the whole script was written with Bruce Campbell in mind. It was written for his delivery, and then they got some no-name soap opera actor, and he didn't understand that the movie was a comedy, so the tone between the main character and the rest of the film completely clashes, and not in a good way. I did forget to mention that, Burhan, with Bruce Campbell, but Yeah, Evil Dead, Army of Darkness. Let's start off with the elephant in the room. Not the opinions
Wait,
yet,
is my
but
fan going? Sorry.
No, not your thing. But the one thing that I think people remember about this movie, and we might as well tackle it quick. Which ending do you prefer? And Burhan, we'll start with you. Do you prefer the theatrical ending or the recut ending?
The recut ending with him at the S-Mart, which because it's such a better ending. Because the theatrical ending, I've seen both, and I was lucky enough to get the special edition Necronomicon DVD version, which had both endings in it as well. And the second ending's so much better because he sits there and he's just like explaining his situation to this woman like he's just telling her the story, giving her loads of expedition about it, and he goes, "So I read the book, I think. Yeah, no, I got it right. I kind of got it right." And then you had the demon at S-Mart go, "I swallow your soul, I swallow your soul," and he's like, "Swallow this," shoots her in the face, and then just stood there and goes, "Shop smart, shop S-Mart." And I cracked up laughing because it set the tone. It was just like, what a perfect way to end it. You know, because he's more confident. He doesn't give a fuck anymore. He's just like, meh, I can deal with this shit. And it works so well from what he was going for. And it kind of sums up his journey in a sense. And it also gives it a nice little ring to, if they wanted to continue it, it's got a nice little jump off point as well. And with the other ending where he goes and he ends up aging and he's like gone too far and he's like, "Oh, I was asleep for God knows how long," and all that, it's kind of Planet of the Apes-ish, you know.
Yeah, apparently the studios didn't like that ending because they felt it was too much of a negative ending for the type of movie they had. It kind of was a down note, so they wanted the more triumphant Hail to the King ending, which I actually agree with you. I do prefer.
Yeah, it worked a lot better, and I think it's more in tone with Bruce Campbell's character in a sense. The final ending was just like, I got it. It was like, kind of a little chuckle with it, but it was like, yeah, that's kind of a bit of a downer. With the new ending, I couldn't stop cracking up with it because every time I watch it, it's kind of, it's one of those things that you look at it and you think, yeah, that's the way they should have summed it up, and that's the way they could continue it. So it's again, it's one of those great little jump off points. So if you see this, you could expect a sequel, but it's also a good, nice little subtle ending to end it off and say, yeah, that was fun. That was enjoyable. That was a great roller coaster ride, and I probably would go again.
How about you, Annina? Do you prefer the original ending with the time travel ending, or do you prefer the studio ending, which was him at the S-Mart?
I've only seen one ending, and it was the studio one, because that's the one that they show more often. It's the one that gets played on TV the most. Yeah. Then it would have been that one. This is the one that I remember the least about of all these films. I like the new setting. Yeah. I, for some reason, maybe it's just been so long since I saw it, but I like the new setting. I like that they, went somewhere else with it. But
do you have a cash converters near you?
Cash converters, yeah, I'm sure somewhere.
The reason I say that is I guarantee, because that's where I got my copy, I guarantee you can pick up the double disc Super Whammy version of this in cash converters for £1.50.
Probably.
No, I do want to see that. I do want to see the other ending. I'm curious.
It probably needs.
Basically,
see the other ending on YouTube as well, by the way, because I know.
Basically, what happens is, and this is a spoiler alert for people who haven't seen.
No,
I
think I've read that. I've read what the other. While I was researching this, the other ending, so I do know what happens. I just want to haven't seen it with my eyes.
Yeah, for those of you out there who haven't, basically the ending is where Ash is given a potion to go to sleep with, and he sets his car up in a cave, and I'm hearing an echo in the background, just as a heads up, guys. Basically what happens is Ash gets a potion that puts him to sleep, and right before he starts taking the dosage for the potion, he gets attacked, and in the process, he gets attacked by one of the demons, and in the process forgets how much of the dosage he had taken, so ends up taking one drop too many, and ends up waking up in the future. And so it's kind of this doom, not so much doom and gloom, but kind of just this ha-ha point and laugh ending where he
Well, isn't Big
basically
Ben
wakes
in the
up in the
background?
future.
It's got a piss take of Planet of the Apes, but then you've got all these artifacts from all different parts of the world that shouldn't even be there.
Yeah,
Next
yeah.
to each other.
basically everything's all like mishmashed together, and it's the apocalypse. But the problem with that ending, I felt, was it seemed anticlimactic in a sense. It didn't really allow it to gain enough seasoning.
You could argue it is a throwback to the ending of Evil Dead 2, which is a downer, basically. So maybe that's why they went. Well, Raimi went with it, which is, well, this is how I ended that movie, and this is the whole point. Who said I was going to end it on a high?
No, I agree, but on the same level, it's just like they could have gone a different way with it, and I felt with the ending that the studio ending that they went with, I felt it ended it a lot better. And as a kid watching it, I just sat there and I was like, yeah, and plus when I grew up with Bruce Campbell, he was always in a lot of the movies I watched, because my dad was kind of my dad was very broad in what he watched. He used to watch the studio stuff, but he also used to watch a lot of indie stuff. And to me, he was always a badass. So I would always go out of my way to watch stuff that Bruce Campbell was in. Like, when I got Sky, the first thing that was on Sky 1 was The Adventures of Briscoe County Jr. It's...
Oh, I forgot all about that.
And again, he was a badass, so he was kind of... Those are the kind of roles he kind of migrated to.
Wasn't he in the TV version of Time Cop as well?
Yes, he was. But
and he was in Xena, I think.
Yeah, he was.
He was the Prince of Thieves, wasn't he?
Yeah. But, that's the kind of Bruce Campbell I remember. The kind of, I went too far bit. It was just like, I saw this in Planet of the Apes. This isn't Planet of the Apes. This is like something different. But again, the fact that they had the balls to kind of change everything about the second movie, they kind of went to that whole medieval premise of it. They gave the Deadites a lot more backstory. They worked a lot more with this whole King Arthur-esque feel, but still retained that horror element to it. It was perfect. And even again, if you check out If Chins Could Kill, he does talk about this one fucking extra that used to piss him off. The guy that they just said to him not to. He acted too much of it. Like, he was like, Bruce was on the horse for this one scene, and then the guy was behind him, and he kept going a bit too close, and the ADs are giving him direction like, yeah, you need to step back a bit. And he just kept bumping into him because the guy wanted to get in camera shot, and he kept looking at the fucking camera. They ended up firing him, and he didn't come into work. He took his costume home with him, and didn't end up coming back into work. And they were saying that they had a bill for about 7 or 8 different extra costumes that these guys just ran off with. That they never chased up again. So it's like someone's house has probably got like some mementos, some unofficial mementos that they've stolen from the set.
How about you, Dave? You haven't said your opinion on Army of Darkness. What's your thoughts?
Well, this is where it gets interesting and confusing, because dependent upon where you saw it in this country, the cinematic ending was actually the S-Mart ending. In some places in this country, and in other places it was the Doom and Gloom ending. And I remember the first time I saw the Doom and Gloom ending was actually on VHS. So that's why I get really, really confused, because I remember the first time I watched it on VHS, and I got to the end, because I rented it, and thinking, yes, here it comes. Wait, what? I don't remember this. Wait, no, where's my... they asked me to stay and be their king. But in many ways, I am king. Give me some sugar, baby. It's just like... I don't get it. It's weird. And actually, reading it on Wikipedia, it says the original ending, preferred by Raimi and Campbell themselves, in which Ash oversleeps, was restored for the film for the UK VHS release, but the S-Mart ending was put as a post-credit after the, the credits. That's why it's called post-credit. But apparently the S-Mart scene was shot for the US audience, for the cinematic release.
I must have gotten mixed up. I must have gotten mixed up then, yeah.
Yeah, it didn't test
I'm
well,
just reading on
apparently.
Wikipedia, but because apparently they decided that the US audience, I guess they think all English people are depressive or something, but they said apparently they decided that for the US audience that having a doom and gloom ending just wouldn't work. But you know, the Brits, they fucking live in England. That's punishment enough. They can have this shit.
They're miserable enough. Here you go.
But I love that
All
ending.
right.
I love it so much. Just when he whips off his pinny and he's dressed as he was, and he's still got his medieval robotic hand. And if I got a really slight tangent, when MTV first came out in this country on Sky, we had European MTV. We didn't have the UK MTV, and so every now and then you could see commercials or trailers for movies that were in different languages, and I've never forgotten the German commercial for or German trailer for Evil Dead, because when he goes groovy and he replicating the second movie where he's got his robotic hand and he crushes the goblet. I just never forgotten that in the German version he just goes Godorvi. That's amazing. So for years me and my mates would always never say groovy, we just go Godorvi. Oh, good times.
Yeah, like I said, going back to Army of Darkness, I really do adore this movie, and it's so different from the second film that I don't even consider. It's not that I don't consider Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness to be sequels in a sense, because they clearly are, but they're so different. I don't have to choose one or the other. A lot of people, when it comes to like what's your favorite movie in a franchise, I can put both of them up right on the same pedestal because, in my opinion, they're so different from each other. They can stand on their own different 2 feet. They have such a difference in tone, whereas there's still horror elements in Army of Darkness. It's really downplayed. It's very much a slapstick comedy, and there's so many great iconic scenes. There's the scene where Ash is fighting the mini Ashes. There's evil Ash. There's the scene where he's fighting the swamp creature in that giant hole. And obviously the scene that everybody remembers, the book scene with the 3 books where he messes up the line. That scene is just, everybody knows that scene.
Yeah, I love the bit where he's going,
Okay, then I said the words.
yeah, he's like,
yeah, did you say them exactly? Not every single solitary syllable, but I said them enough.
Yeah.
You doomed us all. There was, I forget what it is, but there was even though it was a low budget movie, but still a mainstream movie at the time, with the way they animated the skeletons in this, because they're not all props, believe it or not, there was some brand new special effect feature rolled out for this by a company. I forget what it's called. I'll see if I can find it. But so there are actually some state of the art effects in this, believe it or not, and plus the Army of Darkness is awesome, just because everyone in it is a character. The bit
funny.
It's interesting though, which is this of all the versions had the biggest difference in cuts between North America and Europe. They're 2 completely different movies, and I didn't realize this. Yeah, until I bought when I was on holiday once in Canada. I bought it on VHS, came back, watched it, and just went, I don't remember that scene. I don't remember that scene. I don't remember that scene. And if you buy the Super Whammy 2 disc edition in this country, you get to watch both versions, and you also get to watch a version where they put them together. Because when he's fighting the little Ashes, the whole London Bridge is falling down. That's not in the UK theatrical release. You remember that when he's trying to stamp on them? That's not in there.
Political correctness 101.
Well, there's a whole issue with the ratings for this movie, because originally when Universal signed on to be the principal distributor in conjunction with Dino De Laurentiis, they actually wanted Raimi to make them a PG-13. And Raimi supposedly went out of his way to make the film a PG-13. Do you know the only reason why they even got an R rating over an NC-17, which is what the original cut of the film was, an NC-17? He had to convince the MPAA that all the violence in the movie that he put in was okay because it's happening to skeletons. That's literally the only reason. He was like, no, it's fine. I'm blowing people, I'm blowing heads off and things like that, but they're all skeletons. It's fine. So they gave him an R, but Universal was gunning for a PG-13, and for some reason they weren't able to get it. Before you mentioned the delay that you said was due to the writer's strike. It wasn't the writer's strike. What had happened was they needed an extra $1 million to finish the post-production, But at the time, Universal and Dino De Laurentiis were feuding because De Laurentiis was not giving Universal the rights to Hannibal Lecter.
Laurentiis sounds like a dick. But
Dino
based
De
on this
Laurentiis is,
podcast.
yeah, Dino De Laurentiis is an old school producer. He's one of those. He's it's weird because he has a name to him, but if you look at his filmographies, he hasn't really produced that many big hits. A lot of his films basically break even. I mean, he was the one that did Mindhunter, which was the original version of Red Dragon that came out with Brian Cox as Hannibal Lecter. He was the one that produced the Transformers movie, not the Michael Bay version, the original animated version.
Still my favorite one. Still
he produced
all are one.
He's produced a bunch of them. I'm looking at the list real quick. Death Wish, he produced that. He produced, let's see, he produced the 76 King Kong, Conan the Barbarian, Halloween 3.
Delphish 76. I wish I was dead.
Maximum Overdrive, Silver Bullet, Red Sonja, Year of the Dragon.
Sorry, I just got to say, I love that movie.
Yeah, he's produced a bunch of like okay films, but for a director that's produced, not that many hits, he still has a big name in Hollywood. I think it's mostly because he was one of the first big producers at the time, dating back to like the 40s. But yeah, he at the time was feuding with Universal because Universal was in the process of making Silence of the Lambs, but couldn't get the rights to the Hannibal Lecter character because De Laurentiis had it. So that's why it was delayed over a year, because they couldn't get the last bit of money from Universal to finish the production. Because the movie was supposed to come out in summer of '92 and didn't come out until February '93.
Oh,
so there
says really quickly, has anyone mentioned that because I actually didn't realise this, has anyone mentioned that the lines Ash blows are also the words that stop the robot in The Day the Earth Stood Still?
Yes, it is. That's actually a nod to. It's actually a nod to it. It's a notable nod that Raimi put in there. But yeah, there's so much to this movie. I adore it. I have the Screwhead edition, which is the most recent anniversary edition on Blu-ray. Very good edition. It's got all the special features, both endings, things like that. It's a lot of fun.
You say yes to what I'm about to say. I'm gonna pop. Is there a box set of all three of them on Blu-ray?
Let me check real quick. I probably not, because if it did, it would probably have the fourth movie as well, which we'll talk about in a second. Let me just look that up real fast. Let's see. Evil
Yeah.
Dead,
In terms of like the movie itself,
set.
though, it made for me. I think it gave it a very nice ending. It was a great kind of movie to end the franchise on. It wound everything up, and it had.
Plus, he's so badass in this movie. This is the epitome of Ash as a god.
Dave.
Yep.
There's a UK exclusive Evil Dead trilogy on Blu-ray.
Oh.
It's UK exclusive. Yeah, you guys got an exclusive Blu-ray triple pack. Let's see. Yeah, let me look at the special features.
Do I get all the special
quick,
features on number 2? Because that's the main reason I'll be buying it.
Yeah, it's got all the features of the first one, the second one, and the third one packed together.
Holy shit, now I've got a full-on Rager and not just a semi. To Amazon, I say. I think this is the most quotable movie, by the way, though, don't you think? But Ash lines, and they're all quotable, but this is the most quotable for Ash, like at the start, when he pulls himself out of the pit, and he just goes, hey, your shoelaces are untied. And then the bloke, even though he's wearing metal boots, can't help himself and looks down. And then also, this is my boomstick.
I think my favorite line from their quoted line is actually not one from Ash itself. It's the scene where his medieval girlfriend gets turned into a deadite, and she pops into view, and she's like, I'm bad, but it feels so good. Just the way she says that, it's just, it's awesome. But yeah, this movie is a lot of fun. It really is. What was that?
The other line when he says to her, when he's just been accepted as their god and he's being arrogant, and he's just takes a bite out of the big wedge of meat and spits the pips from the grapes out and just goes, and she slaps him and just goes, first you want to kill me, now you want to kiss me, blow me.
We bring up Evil Ash in this when we talked about the whole Deadites thing. He had to go through a lot to do that, because it is Bruce Campbell in that makeup. he had to go through like 3 or 4 hours of makeup process to get the makeup on to play Evil Ash, and he said he really hated having to wear all that makeup, and I can tell because it looks just as bad as it did for Ted Raimi in the second film.
You can see his entire fucking lower jaw, can't you? His teeth, I mean, and
Yeah.
Paddy has brought up another great line that everyone loves, which is, "You ain't rolling with two things right now, Jack and shit." And Jack just left town.
I almost feel like without Army of Darkness, we would have never gotten Duke Nukem, because so many lines from that movie pop up in Duke Nukem. Like, Duke Nukem pretty much is like the buffed out
You know
video
what?
game version of Ash.
I never thought about it before, but I think you're perfectly right. I think Duke Nukem is basically Ash.
Yeah, and if Sam Raimi's
misogynistic, arrogant, overly macho, unpolitically correct anti-hero. They're the same bloke. They were separated at birth.
Take notes, Sam Raimi. If you want to bring back your career after the quote-unquote failure of Oz the Great and Powerful, movie adaptation of Duke Nukem, work on that. I'd be up for that.
Yeah, I would, and just have Bruce Campbell as Duke.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't go to the gym.
I mean, I don't know who you would get to play Duke Nukem. I can't think of any fun big men. Maybe Dwayne Johnson. I can probably see The Rock playing that character.
No,
No, not Rock.
I could see The Rock doing that. He's got enough of a charisma. He could pull off those lines.
He's not a character actor at all. No.
I think Jason Statham.
I agree with Burhan. I don't think he has the charisma for that.
All right, then it's just me.
The Rock is kind of sweet. He comes across as more sweet, and you can't have someone who's kind of sweet
He's
in
The
that
Rock.
part.
Duke Nukem should never do a Roger Moore eyebrow raise.
He's good at playing The Rock in movies, but he's not good at basically. He's not a character actor. He's not someone like for me. There's I think like someone like Bruce Campbell was a proven character actor. If you look at the fact that he did Evil Dead, the Spider-Man movies, and like Briscoe County Jr. and Bubba Hotep. If you can fucking play Elvis,
Hotep, I love V.
Yeah, it's such a great movie. If you can play Elvis in a movie, you know you're the king.
What do I know? I got cancer on my pecker. Sorry. Do you know the greatest thing about Bubba Hotep is? There's 2 audio commentaries on the DVD. One of them is with them all talking about the movie, and the other one is with Bruce Campbell staying in character as Elvis, as if it was real, and doing the audio commentary as Elvis. Oh, it's amazing.
Now he's going to go suck my soul out of my ass. I love it. It's just like
that's a movie I need to go and watch. I've been wanting to watch the movie ever since I saw what was the book that Don Coscarelli adapted? John Dies at the End. After I saw that one, I was like, I gotta go watch Bubba Hotep. I just haven't had a chance to.
On paper. Elvis and they explain it. Sorry, people. Spoilers. Elvis swaps places because he gets bored of being, the king, being surrounded by yes men. Swaps places with a lookalike, and that's the one who dies. And he ends up in a retirement home, having to have a woman grease down his winky with his cancerous infection on the end. And in the same retirement home is an elderly black version of JFK, because when they shot him, they blew a little piece of his brain out, but they replaced it with a bag of sand and then dyed his skin black and stuck him in the retirement home. It's just, on paper, it's just absolutely genius.
Yeah, and he's like, thank you, Mr. President. And the guy just, he doesn't, there is no way in hell that he could be, but then he keeps going on about, like, this big conspiracy that turned him black and stuff. I cracked up. It's a great, fun little movie. And the
Plus,
fact
it has one of Bruce Campbell's greatest comedic physical comedy moments ever, which is, do you remember when Elvis used to do that little kung fu stance, karate stance? Well, obviously he's elderly in this one, standing over a Zimmer frame, and he takes his hands off, does the and then wobbles a bit and has to put his hands straight back on the Zimmer frame.
Pat Mercer's basically saying Duke Nukem quotes every action flick there is, including Evil Dead, They Live, and also Die Hard, because the quote from They Live, it's time to kick ass and chew bubble gum, and I'm all out of bubble gum. Mr. Roddy Piper himself.
That's an awesome movie. That's John Carpenter, isn't it?
Yeah, and everybody is marking the fuck out over the fact that we mentioned Bubba Hotep. The music, I love Brian Tyler. You got Ding Dongs Man. Yeah, I remember that.
Follow subscribe to my movie channel, Brian. What was his last name? I just was texting. I apologize. What was the guy's name that you just mentioned?
What, RPG Machine, Marquio Brothers, or Patimus?
All three of them. Subscribe to the Untitled Movie Show channel on YouTube, please.
Big plug, big
I
plug.
gotta plug my stuff, man. I gotta plug my stuff.
Subtle, so subtle.
And in that retirement home, Elvis and everybody was kind of plugged up themselves, but I'm cha. So yeah, moving on.
Yeah, let's move on to the fourth film in quotes, because there have been desires to make a sequel to Evil Dead for a couple of years now, dating back to the mid 2000s. In fact,
There was a massive fan petition online. They got something like 750,000 signatures, wasn't there, for a sequel?
well, they were close. Originally, after the success of Freddy vs. Jason, New Line was actually trying to work out a deal to make Freddy vs. Jason vs. Ash, which would have had
It
would have had Ash. Yeah, it would have had Bruce Campbell actually hunting down both Freddy and Jason in the midst of their big climactic battle. The reason
And
this
there is a
didn't work
comic
was
book version. Let's not forget.
yeah, and the only reason there's a comic book version is because Raimi would not sell the rights to Evil Dead to New Line, because New Line had the distribution rights for the first film, but Raimi had the character rights and the name rights to the Evil Dead as a franchise. New Line was only willing to do that film if Raimi was willing to sell the rights, which he wasn't, obviously. So that didn't get made, and what we did get was the most recent adaptation from 2013. I did not see this film because honestly, I have no desire to. I'm sure it's good or bad. I don't need to watch it. Evil Dead 2 and 3 are so good. I don't need to see them done again. Even if it is a version of the first one, I've got the other two. So I
agree with you on that one, Miguel.
Am I the only one who's seen this?
I've seen it, and I absolutely adore it.
I've seen it.
Well, hold on. Let's start with the first person then. Burhan, what's your thoughts on Evil Dead 2013?
It's basically what Raimi envisioned the film to be in the first place. It's a horror film in all intents and purposes. It comes on the same kind of fold as it's shocking to be shocking, you know. There's elements of it, like the bit where she cuts her tongue in half.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, I just shivered. That's amazing.
And also the fact they change up the lead as well in that. And you also get a nice little special cameo, which is a nice little caveat from Bruce Campbell as a Deadite at the end.
There's a double cameo if you think about it, because Bruce Campbell's car from the original movie is the rusted out car outside the shack in this movie.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. If we're gonna mention the Oldsmobile, actually that car makes an appearance in every Sam Raimi film. Watch any Sam Raimi film, you'll see that car pop up. It's even popped up in Spider-Man. There are a few times in Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3 where that car actually pops out. It's a Raimi trademark. Go on, Burhan. I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's fine. Yeah, but basically to me it's a great horror movie. Do I call it an Evil Dead movie? I think by name, yes, it has its elements, but I wouldn't hold it up with the rest of the trilogy. It doesn't have those elements that make an Evil Dead movie, in my opinion. If they spun this off into its own trilogy of films, I could see it. But I'm glad they kept it to one movie because it's kind of cut and paste from there.
Campbell and Raimi were producers on this one.
Correct. But one of the things I find with a lot of horror reboots, they make a horror movie and it's like, oh my god, that's scary, that's disgusting, and then they do it again and it's just the same movie but with a different cast.
Who's doing cocaine in the background?
I'm sorry, I need to blow my nose. I was trying to get away from the mic.
She's living the life of an actor.
Of course, it's the professional actress.
Yeah, negotiating.
You should see the party that's here in the background.
Professional actress's lunch: a bottle of water, a Diet Coke, a line of Coke, and a Marlboro Light.
How did you know, Dave?
Half a grape. Half a grape.
Half a grape.
You need your vitamins. So half a grape.
What's eating Gilbert Grape? So yeah, basically this movie has all the elements of a horror movie. It's Evil Dead if it was a horror movie. The problem is it doesn't have the same je ne sais quoi as the original, and it doesn't have. And it's one of those where if you saw this and expected a sequel, you're kidding yourself.
When you said Eating Gilbert Grape, which is an amazing movie. By the way, Miguel, I think at some point we should do a retrospective on Johnny Depp.
We'll be here for days. That's a very prolific
Yeah.
that's a very prolific actor. Is all I'm saying.
We'll have to group
Alright, it's
them
good
into
movies.
films of his. We'll have to group them in like 3 films at a time, ish.
But yeah,
Ish.
as I
That
said,
might be
it basically
That might be a yearly endeavor. You know, we'll do one
Yeah.
every month, and by the end of the year, we'll be set.
Well, Patmos
Halfway
basically
through.
said herself as
It's our
well.
new Christmas special.
Well, Patmos just said herself as well that she supported it 100%, but it's because it's what Sam Raimi originally wanted, and it's true. This is what Sam Raimi wanted as an Evil Dead movie, but the problem is it got a like it came into its own in a fact where it had everything that he wanted, but there was no going forward with it. There was no way you could spin off from it. There was no way you could do any more movies. It was.
I'm going to debate that, actually. I'm sure at that time when he was producing it, it probably in his mind was what it wanted, but you can kind of say the same thing like about George Lucas, where, you know, the later Star Wars films are what, quote unquote, he really wanted. You know, it's kind of like, are they really what you really wanted, or are they what the new you wants?
Well,
you know, it's kind of like...
It's with Lucas, he always wanted to tighten the films up. The problem was he was such a perfectionist with that he kept doing it and kept finding all these issues with it, that the films no longer they lost all their charm. And it's
He should have stopped trying to find issues with it and try and find his fucking chin.
Well,
that's been
the same
MIA
thing-
for years.
That's the same thing with this. It's like he had so many things that he wanted to do with the movie, and then when that came into fruition, it lost all semblance of what it was. It stopped being an Evil Dead movie, but it was an Evil Dead movie by name, by appearance, but it wasn't an Evil Dead movie by its charm.
Let me rephrase that for you, paraphrase it. That's not Wayne's basement. Oh
Yeah.
wait, that's Wayne's basement. Hey Garth, that was a haiku.
Yeah, it lost all its luster in a sense. But again,
So
you know,
basically you're saying that it's not a bad movie, it's just not a good Evil Dead movie.
no, but at the end of the day, it's not, and I wouldn't really even use this movie to bring a new audience in. I wouldn't sit there and have someone watch this and say, "Hey, do you want to watch the rest of the movies from the other Evil Dead movies?" Because they'll look at that and they'll go, "Where's all the horror?"
See, I'm
Yeah,
a
they'll
purist for
expect
the
something
originals,
completely
but I
different
disagree
if they
with
go by the new one.
Yeah, exactly. And I think in terms of it stands on its own. It stands head and shoulders on its own. And it did make enough money for them to make a sequel, but it decided to go against the grain and went away from that instead.
I'm going to throw it over to Annina so she can give our thoughts. I've got to slip away to the restroom real quick. Annina, what's your thoughts on the Evil Dead remake?
This one was a funny one. I feel like this is 2 films that have been copy-pasted together. Like, I hated the beginning half of this film. I hated it. I was bored. I got some free tickets to see it. I was bored and I was yawning. I was like, ugh, this is really not going anywhere. It's not engaging me. It's full of cliches. And this last 45 minutes of the film is bloody amazing. Like I said in the last podcast, it's fantastic at the end. So you have to kind of sit through boring bits to get to this amazing 45 minutes. And it really feels like, you know, whoever directed this one started doing the beginning, da-di-da-di-da-di-da, and then suddenly Raimi went, no, let me show you how it's done. And then just took over. And I it's really odd, but I would watch the last 45 minutes again countlessly because it's amazing. My favorite scene is when she gets her hand trapped underneath the car. Well, she gets her hand stuck underneath the car. Okay, that's not too much of a spoiler. That is amazing, that bit. And this has what the previous films didn't have, which is amazing special effects. The special effects in this are really, really, really good.
Yeah, I always find that. It is like, from anyone who comes from practical effects, they end up using like special effects, like CGI. They tend to kind of embrace it a lot more. And it's actually cheaper, believe it or not.
Yeah, it was fantastic. So enjoyable. Too bad the beginning was awful. I hated
Yeah, I
the beginning
disagree.
and the whole, oh, I found this book and now I shall read through it. Really? Really?
Don't they have a
Really,
bit
it's
at the
just-
beginning where in the book they actually have somebody writes in it, "Don't read this."
Yeah,
And then the next
yes,
page
it
is like,
does.
"No, seriously, don't read this."
It's
and
literally
it's
like,
actually it's
fuck
wrapped
sake.
in barbed wire, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And someone's there going, snippety, snip, snip, snip. You're just like, it's not even, I didn't even find it funny how stupid it was. I was just like, oh.
I really think though, because the bloke who snipped it, if I was there in the room at the same time, because it said clearly this book shouldn't be read because they find it in the room with all this, sorry people, spoilers, pinned up cats and shit. The minute he cuts the book open and you hear that, oh, I just would have said, "Good job, Poindexter. Good job, you fucking moron."
I would have been like, you fuckers are gonna die. I'm gonna run because I'm brown and I'm gonna probably die first.
Yeah.
And then you
Well,
take
that
off your
kinda
jacket, you realise you're wearing a red Star Trek shirt.
That
Yeah,
kind
that's
of reminds me.
literally
That kind of reminds me of that scene from The Mummy where what's her name opens up the book and all of a sudden you just hear a big whoosh, and then Brendan Fraser just sits there and goes, "It's very reassuring."
Yeah, it's I would basically just like look at, it's like going to the academy and they're giving you the red shirt and you're like, yeah, this isn't gonna end well for me.
It's like someone saying, "Hey, by the way, this is the real cube from Hellraiser." Really?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Pinhead's behind you. No, Pinhead's behind you.
Slight tangent, but it's true. On the special features of Annabelle, which is not as good as The Conjuring, but in the documentary on it, someone says something absolutely brilliant, which is goes, "We may just be making a movie, but I dare any one of you to take that prop doll home and leave it in your house for one night when you go to bed." And I was like, "Yeah, I wouldn't."
Yeah,
that prop doll
again-
was, good.
Yeah, sorry. No, this film is not like the other Evil Deads. In the last 45 minutes, you see Sam Raimi's style. You see it, but this doesn't have the humor that he has. You see his style in it, but no, it's very...
You can see his hand in the pie.
Yeah,
if
you
will.
can see his hand in it, but it's not an Evil Dead film. And I was really apprehensive seeing this because I got some free tickets. So I thought, well, it's free. Of course I'm going to see it if the tickets are free.
Sorry, I just got to say,
But-
what he said about Hellraiser and Annabelle. Patty just sent me a message saying, "You say that, but yet you played with a damn Ouija board."
Yeah.
Good point.
Everyone did that as a kid.
It's
Yeah,
still in my
did
cupboard.
that too. I did that too, and then
Everyone
I
played
ended
with a
up
Ouija
basically feeling
board.
that someone was going to kill me.
I did it recently. Well, a year ago.
Did the Ouija board say "sexy biscuits"?
No, but I tell you what, I had no problem shitting for the next 2 days.
The thing is, I will
But,
say in terms of like to add what Annina's saying, it literally was a movie that was just made to scare you rather than made to develop characters and story, which I think because the other movies had all the sequels and everything going on, they managed to develop the characters a lot better than they did in this one. This one you could tell people were fodder. Apart from the main character, who
that really
kind of-
annoyed me because there was like the stupid guy. Ooh, literally all his lines could have been replaced with ooh. I was like, for Christ.
They are in the
at
special
least,
features.
at least give him something to work with. So ooh. He's the same guy who does the stupid snip
that
snip,
great
and I'm
fight
like,
scene in the
can
toilet,
he
though.
have any amount of personality? Just a tiny bit, please.
Sorry, people. Spoilers. Anyone who doesn't cringe at the scene where he has to pull the broken off needle out of his face is dead inside.
I do have one thing I want to ask because I haven't seen the film. I've heard from people who have seen it that they really take the piss out of the chainsaw. How they kind of make it very inconvenient to work with, in a sense. How the main female character is like trying to move it around and she can't really use it too well. It's not the cool item that it's been portrayed thanks to the other movies.
Pretty much. It's basically they try and throw
They mix it
away-
up. Well, I'll explain that when you get to me. They mix it up and there's a homage to it that doesn't even involve a chainsaw.
Yeah, they kind of use it as a throwaway tool in a sense. This movie stands on its. The thing is, it has many elements, and this brings back to what I was saying. It has many elements of the previous movies, but it stands on its own in a sense. It's kind of like, if I can compare it to one thing, like the Devil May Cry game, the new one that they brought out, where he had the wig, the blonde wig, and goes, like, I would ever wear that. Like he just swats it away. That's pretty much what they do to kind of the Raimi-isms. They just swat them away and kind of they allude to them, but they're like, like, fuck off. This is a horror movie, so to speak.
No, I think the last 45 minutes of this film, amazing. Just watch, just skip forward and start from about halfway point.
Skip to the end.
Yeah.
So I had to do a space quote there.
Well, you already started it, so you might as well. Dave, what did you think of Evil Dead?
I really liked it, but I took it as a homage and an alternative version, knowing that the people who made the original trilogy were invested in this. And so I just kind of took it as, I don't know, a mirror universe version of Evil Dead, and ran with it and really enjoyed it. And it's really dark. It's an 18. So few movies these days are 18s. I'm not saying I'm obsessed with nasty shit, but it just, for once, it's refreshing for someone to go, hey, let's make this true reflection of the original, as opposed to let's try and mass market this to everyone and make it a watered down bloody PG-13 or 12 certificate. And I have to say, I love you, Annina, but I disagree with you at the start, because I think it was build up and I liked it. And some of the build up is scary, like when she's, because sorry people, spoilers, there is no Ash in this movie. It's a heroine, and ironically she's on heroin, and that bit when she looks at her reflection in the mirror, that made me shit my pants. I think there's some genuinely cringeworthy, like I said, the pulling the needle out of his face, the fight in the toilet and stuff, and when he smashes the person's head into pulp. I just think it's absolutely amazing. And what I was going to say is this is what I took from it. The chainsaw is just kind of underrated in this, but I think their piss take of that, or just like trying to add something new, is the electric carving knife scene. Oh yes. Where the woman's been bitten on the hand, and so she takes the electric, because she sees the infection spreading up, she takes the electric carving knife and cuts her own arm off. And when they run in the room to see what's happened, and she's standing there and it's hanging on by an absolute thread, and she goes, I feel so much better right now. And then it just goes slump and falls on the floor. That's absolutely amazing. I agree with you. The last 45 minutes are brilliant in this movie. And the bit Annina alluded to, which is awesome, when she gets her hand trapped underneath the car. And I'm going to say, sorry, people, spoilers.
That makes me go, ah!
But she basically has to pull her arm off her own hand. That's commitment, people. She should be an actress. Oh, wait, she is. But the only problem I have with this movie, and I really, really, really enjoyed it, was for this amazingly badass evil force that kicked the shit out of them and killed them all through the movie. You just cut it in half with a chainsaw at the end. That's it, and it's dead. Kind of no spells and shit. Like that, I just found that a little bit kind of underwhelming, especially since Sam Raimi was on board with this. Which is, I'm glad you went with a schlock fest, sort of gore movie, and it was great, don't get me wrong, it's a great scene in the sense that when you see it, the practical effects are amazing, but my brain just went, so that's how you kill a Deadite, right? And, they just played with you for an entire 2 hours with magic and shit, it's evil magic, and then you just cut it in half with a chainsaw.
Yeah, that bugs me when they do that, when they have like a big villain that's been built up so much, and then afterwards they're like, yeah, I'm just going to kill it with the common cold.
Yeah, it's like basically Batman walking up to Joker when Joker's just killed everyone in the room, and he just flicks him once in the nuts with his finger.
And then he kicks them in the testicles.
But no, I enjoyed it. I took it. I mean, I enjoyed it in the sense that my brain doesn't. It is an Evil Dead movie in the sense that it's a remake, or a homage to, but my brain doesn't include it in the same camp as the other three, if that makes sense. So I guess because unattached myself from it in that manner. I enjoyed it.
You know,
Plus, it was just really nice to have a really, really gory movie for a change.
Yeah, this movie pulls no punches. I'm
Plus,
actually
the tongue
surprised that.
scene, as we talked about, what Byrne mentioned, the tongue bit.
Oh god,
I
that
watched.
made me want to
Oh
wreck.
Christ!
Yeah, that made me want to wreck. I saw that and the way she's just cutting her tongue right down the.
Oh, I'm cringing now. And then later on, she's got because she does it. She's got the snake tongue thing going on.
I actually have to give this film credit. On a budget of $17 million, it made almost $100 million. That's pretty impressive.
That was it? 17 million?
Yeah, the budget is $17 million.
See, that comes back to what you said, Burhan, which I guess when people go, we want everything to be shiny and fantastic, practical effects are cheaper then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yet they look so much better.
Agreed.
I actually have to give the UK credit. You guys actually had a bit of a controversy going on with this film. Apparently, when Channel 4, I guess that's a specific channel over there in the UK, when they got the rights to air the Evil Dead remake, they actually got sent the extended cut, which has still not yet been released. It has not been publicly released.
Channel 4 has a Film 4, which is their movie channel, which is a free movie channel on Freeview, and because I think the reason for that is because Film 4 actually invest a lot of money in movies. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't have a hand in some of the money for this movie, which guaranteed them.
Well, no. What happened was the production company, the distributor, Studio Canal, actually sent them the wrong copy. They sent them they sent them the quote unquote extended cut, which had a bunch of scenes in it. Oh, sorry about that. I forgot. I'm talking into a microphone. They actually, I went to turn around and start moving and realized, wait a minute, I'm not talking into my headset. They actually got a version called the extended cut, which actually had several scenes that weren't in the movie but were in the trailer, as well as a different ending. It only aired once, and then after that, Channel 4 sent them the copy back. This, they actually,
please tell me someone streamed this to the internet and I can find it on a torrent site. Not that I would ever do that. Allegedly,
they'll probably release it in a special edition DVD at some point if you wait long enough, Dave.
Oh, by the way, I have to say a quick one to this, even though he's not listening to this show because he's just a random bloke at work. Mike from the warehouse, I lent you my Blu-ray copy of this movie 18 months ago. Can I have it back at some point, please?
That was your first mistake. But yeah, I haven't seen this version. Like I said, I'm not into gore fest. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of most modern horror films, at least the post-Hostel era of horror films. So I don't know if I am going to go back and watch this because, like I said, I'm just not. It's not my thing.
I think you
to
should
see
give
a
it.
bunch of dismemberment.
I really do think you should give it a try, but just simply because you've watched the other three. But take it with my mindset, which is look at it upon not in that canon franchise, just an homage to, even like Annina mentioned, even don't consider it an Evil Dead movie, just consider it an Evil Dead themed movie, if that makes sense.
Fair enough. Well, what I'm looking forward. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying I do like the fact it has a female protagonist and she doesn't feel like the usual female horror protagonist.
I'm a victim.
Yeah, she's at first she is because in a
defense, she's
heroin
addict.
addict,
Drug addiction.
Yeah, but she gets some similar to actually Drag Me to Hell. You have this really sweet looking girl who's a protagonist, and you think is going to be a wet blanket. Drag Me to Hell.
I thought that was a great
me too.
Another Sam Raimi film, I believe.
Yes, it is indeed. You have this really sweet looking girl, you think she's going to be a wet blanket, but when push comes to shove, she's got real edge and is like, actually.
That's what I took as the whole purpose of her being there, which was you were supposed to be lulled in, which is why I like the start of it, because you're supposed to be lulled into, we're here to have an intervention and fix you and make you better, and oh, you're a victim because you're addicted to drugs, and all of a sudden, which in her defense, you could probably argue the reason she was so badass was when she was kicking everyone's ass, she was in massive withdrawal and incredibly pissed off.
Yeah.
Well, it was on
just thinking, after this, I can have a hit. I've deserved.
I do agree with you, Annina, which I liked about it, which was if you are going to remake Evil Dead, I do think they went the right route, which is no one could be Ash. You can't have Ash in it, and
Yeah, I agree
since
on
you
that
simply
one.
can't have it, then why not mix it up? And why do we even have to have a male protagonist? Let's have a female protagonist.
Yeah, it
really-
basically said this isn't your movie. You know, this isn't an Evil Dead like the one that we saw before, and it,
Like I said, it's a homage.
yeah, it was a different vision, and it wasn't. And no one tried to remake it, and it's one of the things that I had a problem when they did like Clash of the Titans, and they tried to remake like RoboCop. They lost a lot of the substance, but tried to kind of have the same characters. This one basically went a different route.
Keeps the substance, but has different characters.
Yeah, and it retold the story from a different timeline, I think, as Dave would put it. So it's, you know, it kind of updated it. It was great, but I just don't feel like you can go anywhere else after it. And
I really want to watch it now, but I can't because Mike's got it.
That's kind of the issue behind it, though. So, you know, that's the only thing I have, which I feel is bad about this movie, is there's nowhere else to go. One, I don't think she would want to go back there anyway after all this crap. I think she's too smart to do so, whereas Ash was a bit of an idiot because he was like, yeah, I'm probably just having nightmares.
Two, there's no way she's going to be able to replace her hand.
Yeah. And three, man, her sex life must be well hindered. But yeah, and
that was I have to say that was a nice little kind of obvious tribute to the original trilogy, which is the fact that she lost her hand, but not in the way that you would normally, because other people got bitten and one cut their arm off, but she lost her hand through basically sheer willpower, in an accident, as opposed to the Deadites, if you will. But it was still a nice kind of update, remake, homage to, well, you are technically Ash, even in female form, so you have to lose your hand at some point, love. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think she stood out as much as Ash did, because Ash was kind of an iconic character, but I can't even remember her name. I can't even remember the actress who played her.
I can, but I think in their defense, they probably realized that even though she's basically the protagonist and Ash, that if they give her any sort of snappy one-liners and stuff, then people are just going to go, oh, we want Bruce Campbell. So they kind of played it smart.
She kind of lacked her backstory, which was another thing. And the one thing I find...
Did you know Burhan drug addicts don't have backstories?
It's not just that, though, Dave. It's like, that's one of the things that I have a problem with modern-day movies is they kind of get rid of even stuff like Expedition when it comes to building these characters, and they just make them fodder, which is kind of one of the issues I had with this movie. And that's the only negative I could pull out of it, in a sense. Well, the second negative, in a sense, apart from the fact that it did make me shit myself. It did make me freaking scared. As a 33-year-old man, I kind of went to bed not wanting to turn my lights off. So it's... it is one of those things that I sat there and I thought it did the job and it did it right, and it scared the crap out of me. Will I watch it again? Probably not. Just because the fact that...
I would, but I don't own it anymore because some prick at work nicked it.
Well, as I said, I probably wouldn't, because I'd probably shit myself watching it again. But that's me. But I think that there's certain things that kind of took me out of the movie, and one of them was the fact that this girl, I had nothing to put myself into her, in a sense. Not in that way. No, even Annina was ready to go with the puns.
Yeah, I was. I mean, I'm sorry. That wasn't even a pun.
You set yourself up there, mate.
Later.
I did. I set myself up. But there was no immersion, and you can't lose yourself in it. But the movie was scary, and for me, it made my whatever hair I have left on my head stand on end. So it did its job and it did it well. But I still wouldn't consider it an Evil Dead movie. That's me.
Fair enough. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like I said, it's just not my kind of horror film. Maybe I'll give it a shot, but like I said, I've got the original trilogy. And
give it a shot, honestly, just for me, Miguel. Give it a shot. Not even for a movie show, just so I can see what you think of it.
You know what you could do, Miguel? Bring a date over.
If you find it in a bargain bin or something,
bring a date over and get a date to watch it with you. That way, if she gets scared, you're like, I'm big and macho.
I'll think about that. But Yeah,
I want to have
that's
sex?
pretty.
No, I'm traumatized and too scared. Take me home.
Yeah, that's kind of not. That's not the feel-good movie that I want to introduce somebody to.
I make the deadite sounds
Nothing
while
gets
you're
you
having
laid
sex.
better
That would
than
kill your
watching
sex life.
Back to the Future or the Goonies.
That would kill your sex life. Just make the deadite sounds while you're having sex. You know, it's just worse than Arnie. You're just like, okay, now we're finished.
And with that, let's go on to the ending here. This has been our Evil Dead retrospective. Tune in next week. We're going to be doing our news episode. We're going to be talking about bits of news that have come out, including the expanded universe Ghostbusters movie that's going to be coming out soon. The male Ghostbusters movie that was recently announced, the planned one at least. So we'll be talking about that as well as other bits of news. So let's move on to plugs. Burhan, where can we find you?
www.youtube.com/thenerdgenius and also nerdgenius.com. I am losing subscribers by the barrelful at the moment. I think Google.
They're still culling, Burhan. Don't worry, they're still culling.
I got like my subs up to 315 again, and then they culled again. I was just like, fuck. But yeah, you know, thank you for everyone. Check out the WWE2K15 review. 2K games love it. They actually asked me to send them an email about what I liked and disliked about the game personally. And also what elements I would add to the game if they were going to make a sequel or do any updates. I've done that.
And if they have a fucking brain, they'll do it, because it would immediately make it...
Well, the idea I think I have is perfectly on solid ground. If you want to know more about it, just add me on Facebook or Twitter, facebook.com/Michael Burhan, twitter.com/Michael Burhan. You can also check out I Got Gameplay's previous episode last week, which was Toilet Gaming. It's going to be uploaded onto iTunes probably tomorrow. Sorry on the delays of that. I've just been doing jury duty and I have been practically dead to the point of also going back to the gym where my body now feels like a brick. It's like I'm filled with cement. So if I try to swim, I'll probably end up sleeping with fishes. Apart from that, more coming. I've got the film release for the 48-hour film that I did. I'm still working on the director's cut as we speak. I'm a perfectionist, so sue me. I've got some more stuff coming out, directing a film called Glass Mirrors, that's coming up, and also working on the Silent Hill stuff, including I'm trying to confirm the Silent Hill panel that I'll be doing at Play Expo in Blackpool. If you're a fan of retro gaming, if you're a fan of all that jazz, come down there and give us a shout out on that one. Also, I'm trying to set up a few things as well. I know a few people have been suffering a lot financially and stuff this month. So I'm trying to kind of see what I can do to help people out, which doesn't include me donating money, because I'm a broke actor. If you think I have loads of money, like Mr. Bruce Campbell and everybody else, think again, because there's a reason why they call us starving artists. But yeah, big things coming, people. Just keep a lookout. My stuff, personal website, michaelburhan.com is coming. Silent Hill website's coming, and also updates to enigma.co.uk as well. So loads of keen stuff.
Burhan the Boy tomorrow.
And Burhan the Boy tomorrow. And I want to basically give a shout out to Marquillo Brothers, who's basically was on the chat. Mr. Retro and himself, Stephen Richards, RPG Machine 86, Andrew Adams as well. He basically said it's a great show, and he'll make sure he catches us a lot more. Subscribe to the youtube.com Untitled Movie Shows YouTube channel, please, people. Patmus as well. Great discussion tonight, guys. Thank you to everyone that's been on the chat as well. And now I'll just pass it on to Mr. Dave Wade.
You can find me standing over my freshly severed right hand to stop the deadites infecting my soul.
And people say to swallow your soul. Dave just swallows your... No, I'm not even going to say it. youtube.com/LawBoysPost 1975. Make sure you check him out on there. Burhan the Boy tomorrow at 8 PM EST, which is 12 AM, Dave. Remember?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to try and get it right this time. Plus, also, if you want to be a guest, anyone, be a guest. Andrew, be a guest.
Of course.
I
got gameplay.
We have no... By the way, Miguel, turn into the mic. Sorry. We have no topic.
I was leaning back.
That's the point with me and Burhan the Boy, is we have no topic. We just go forth with what we think at the time.
It's basically talk radio. And also check out I Got Gameplay Saturday, 8 PM ET, 12 AM basically GMT, as we're going over to, hopefully our daylight savings is coming at some point.
When does ours happen?
I think
I
it's
just
next
know
week.
Oh, because I hate that day. I hate that day. So, I mean, I know I can't complain to North America because you guys already got it, but I hate that day because it's just like, that's an hour of my life.
I don't
Fucking
mind, I've
annoys
got
me.
digital everything as well. And by the way, tune in to I Got Gameplay. This week's episode, I don't know what the topic's going to be as of yet. I'm trying to secure a guest, see how it goes from there. Next week, we're going to have a returning guest, Monsieur Fungo is going to be on the show, so prepare your questions. We're going to be talking a lot about basically from systems and also the game Bloodborne. So make sure you check that out, guys, as well.
I have a topic for you, Burhan.
Yes?
Adult gaming. Mortal Kombat.
We did something very similar, which was a great show in 2014. It got over like 1,000 views within a day, which was porn games, which is quite funny. But yeah, we can do adult gaming. That's a good idea, actually. Adult gaming versus kind of childhood gaming. I think we can do that for this week's show. So make sure you tune in for that, guys. iTunes links coming. Make sure you also check out Retrolim's new site once that's up, retrolim.com, and Untitled Movie
and
Show
you can get
as well.
T-shirts of us. Do you see that?
Yes, and you can get
I'm on a
each
T-shirt. Oh, who knew?
T-shirts.
No one's going to buy it,
individual
but
member of our site team as well. So there you go. And now we'll just go over to the lovely Miss Annina Kasky, of course.
You can find me on Facebook and Twitter, Annina Kasky, ANNAKASKI, and in the future on YouTube as well.
Can I take
Someone else.
Can I take the reins?
Yeah.
I was going to say, can I take the reins over now, Burhan? Okay, that was the Untitled Movie Show.
Look strong, Miguel. You're gonna look strong.
Yeah,
strong.
thank you. You can find me here every Wednesday night for the Untitled Movie Show here on youtube.com/thenerdgenius. Take a look out for our upcoming Retro Unlim, the newly redesigned Retro Unlim website. Hopefully we can, our stuff will be on there. Check out Retro Unlim on youtube.com/Retro Unlim. That's where episodes of this will be posted for later. And subscribe to the official Untitled Movie Show YouTube channel. I'm going to be posting up a video later this week, hopefully the 4th episode, which I believe, if I remember correctly, may have either been sequels or comic book movies. I don't remember which. But I'll be posting that episode up soon. If you Google search Untitled Movie Show, if you Google search either our Untitled Movie Show episode on Man of Steel or Bad Directors, you'll see the official Untitled Movie Show YouTube channel. Subscribe there. Follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/unmovieshow. I'll be posting up the link to this episode and any episodes we post on the official YouTube channel. So follow us there. Follow us on YouTube. Follow the show live. And that's pretty much it for the Untitled Movie Show. Check us out next week. We'll be doing our news episode. For myself, for Michael Burhan, for Annina Kasky, and for Dave Wade. Take us out, Jay.
Celebrity voices are impersonated. No celebrities were harmed in filming of this episode.
Excuse me, sir. The show's over.
Get away, zit face.
Ah, the tongue! The tongue! Ah!